Hey, it's Dave from Kansas Guitars. So I had some time this weekend, and I'm really excited because I got to run some numbers and order some parts for the Workhorse guitar. Everything we need is ordered. It's just a matter of waiting. We should have everything, I would hope, within a week or so. We'll run through everything quick. I'll tell you what I got and why and what it cost us. I have all the receipts, which I'll post at some point so you can see what I'm telling you is actually true. The exact amounts of money that we spent with shipping and tax and everything. So we're wrapping everything into it. Whatever it costs us to get here is what we're saying is the price. And I'll run through some numbers and I'll tell you what we got for this one. I'll tell you what we figured out over the weekend and what the plan's going to be. So I always say with these, we talked about the pickups and how they're microphonic. Pretty much all the time they're microphonic. And I don't know why, but they are. But if you saw the last video, when I played it, I said it had a really good sound. But I know as soon as we start cranking that amp up, it's going to start feeding back like a pig. So the pickups got to go. But I did like the sound it had. I think I said it had, kind of reminded me of AC/DC, like that late 80s, early 90s, mid 80s maybe type of sound. So I figured the guitar looks like that's what it should play. It kind of is telling me that's what it should be just by the way it looks. So let's keep that, right? Why not? It looks like that. Why not keep it that? It kind of doesn't make any sense to do anything else with it. It looks good the way it is. It looks classy with the gold. I like the gold covered pickups. So I wanted to keep that look. The only thing I said last time was it felt like when I look at this, I say this is where it should be, right? This is what I expect out of it. And we were here. I just couldn't push it to that level. So the pickups I'm going to put in it will push it to that level, which is great. And I know they will because I've used these pickups in two of my other guitars. I have a gold set and a black set in two of my other. Well, the gold set's in the gold set I had in another LP, and I actually pulled them out. I pulled the bridge one out because it wouldn't take me to that. I play thrash metal like Pantera, and it wouldn't take me over the top to that where I wanted it to be all the time. We used it. I used it at rehearsal and stuff, and we got there, and it was fine. It just wasn't where I wanted it to be for that style music. But for this kind of music, it's perfect. These are great pickups, the ones that I ordered. When they get here, well, I'll show them to you and we'll go over them and everything. But they're from a company called Guitar Madness. Now, Seymour Duncans are great, the Marzios are great, EMGs are great, Fishman are great. They all make great pickups. You've heard all of those, right? Now, unless you want to drop $200 on pickups or more or a little less or whatever, that's great. It's all good and well. I don't want to drop $200 on pickups, but I still want something that sounds great. I love searching for the next cool thing that nobody knows is a cool thing. I like unbranded pickups. Like I'll buy a bunch of unbranded pickups until I find something that works for me. And it's paid off for me because probably 90% of the guitars that I use live have one certain pickup in it. And I hear all the time, what are you using? What are you using? How are you getting that sound? And it's this one certain pickup. And I would love to tell you what it is, but then that would be giving away my secret. So I'm not going to do that. But these pickups I've used probably 5 or 6 different styles of their pickups that they have. And I love them. I don't have anything bad to say about any of them. 1 or 2 of them haven't done what I wanted them to do, but they certainly did what they claimed to do. It was just me wanting more out of them, and it was on my end, not on their end. So Guitar Madness 1984 humbuckers is what they're called. And, they have that 1984 type sound. So I think they're perfect for this. That's what we bought. So how much did they cost, right? That's the important thing. $32.75 and $1.96 shipping. So all in $34.71 for a set, not one, a set of humbuckers. that look identical to what's in here. They're the gold covered pickups. So it's not going to look any different. I think they're probably a little bit nicer gold, a little bit deeper gold, but they're going to look the same. They're going to sound better though. They're going to still have that same style of sound that we heard, except they're not going to be microphonic, and we're going to be able to push it to the next level, which is cool. They're also, now I don't know what these are because I still haven't even pulled the back off this, because if we do, we'll do it live on camera. But these might actually only be 2-wire pickups. The Guitar Madness pickups are 4-wire pickups. So if we, in the future, we're not going to do it with this one because we're trying to keep this simple and straightforward. But in the future, if we want to split coils or run series parallel or any kind of stuff like that, we can do it because they're 4-wire pickups, which is nice. So that's the pickups we're going with. I know they're going to perform. I've used them. They're perfect. So we're going with those. The rest of the parts I picked are all Geiger parts. I picked them because I've been pushing these for years. I've been pushing them before. They've kind of blown up recently. You're probably seeing them all over Instagram and stuff, because they now have places in the United States. I don't know that they're being made in the United States yet. I think they're all still being made overseas, but they're selling them in the United States now, so you can get them a lot quicker, which is nice. And if you go on their website, you'll see, if you go to our Facebook page, go through our link, our affiliate link, because you'll get an extra 10% off if you use the code CHAOS. But if you look at their website, you'll see there's a heading that says available now. That's the stuff that's in the US already. And it's nice because there's a good amount of stuff and you can get it in like 2 to 4 days, which is super cool. So I originally went on there and picked these. The typical Grover style that comes on every LP tuner, right? And these are great tuners, but they're purple. So I wanted red. Red was sold out. Now I could still get red, but I have to spend $159 for the set, and I think that's because they're being made as I order them. These were already made and I think left over. So I think they make a batch of whatever color and sell them. And whatever's left that isn't selling, they reduce price on. So I got this set of tuners, the purple and gold, for $34. Brand new from Geiger. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not B stock or anything like that. I think that's why, though. I think because I would guess. I don't know why else. But they seem to do this because I also got a blue set a while back. I did the same thing with another style of tuner. So I think with the colored ones, I think that's how they do it. So keep your eye on their website because you can find a great set of tuners for a ridiculously low price. We weren't lucky enough to do that with this guitar, but I was lucky enough to get these that are going to go on my purple LP that I own. So we got the identical tuners to that, except all gold. Locking tuners, which I really wanted because I'm all about tuning stability. And the best things you can do for tuning stability is locking tuners because you don't have the winds, around the tuner here. You just pull them straight through and you get like half a turn and you're good, which is nice because the more winds around the tuner you have, the less stable your tuning becomes. Any spot you have that is like a roller saddle or a roller bridge is much better than a non-roller because your string, when you tune, pulls, right? One way or the other. You need that to slide as much as possible because if it gets hung up, like we always talk about the nut, if the nut's not slotted for that string, if your string's too big for the nut, you hear that little twang because it's getting hung up and you're never going to have stable tuning when that happens. So while these saddles for the regular LP guitars work fine, the ones that, they come up to a point, they work fine, but if you can get a roller saddle, it's so much better. So we got the tuners. With the tuners, Geiger came out with these string guides, right? And they're just basically kind of the washer that goes under the nut on the tuner. And it's got a little part, a little hook that comes out, and it guides the string. And if you have an LP, you got the G string problem, right? You're always dealing with tuning on the G string, and you're dealing with intonation issues. And so when your strings pass through the nut and make a turn, you're always going to start that binding process. If you can pass your strings through the nut and keep them as straight as possible to your tuner, you're better off. That's why Music Man, Ernie Ball, and them did the four tuners on top, 2 on the bottom, because they can keep their string as straight as possible. So these guides are going to take your couple strings, your inner strings, and they're going to basically kind of pull them in towards the center of the headstock a little bit more than what they already are. So it'll straighten them out a little bit. I've never used them. I don't know if they're going to do what they say they do, if it's going to help us at all or not, but we're going to find out, because they were cheap and I've been wanting to try them to see if it's worth if it makes a difference and they're worth putting on these guitars every time I have a tuning issue. So the tuners, let's go back to the tuners, because I don't think I gave you a price on those. I got they identical to the Grover tuners with the kidney bean buttons, so they look identical to what's on. They're going to look literally identical to what's on here because they're all gold except they're locking. I got the tuners for $47.25. No shipping, no tax, so that's $47.25. You cannot beat that. You find me a set of tuners that performs as well for that amount of money, and I'll have a new favorite tuner probably. They're great tuners. The string guides were... Now, this is where I went wrong. Whenever I make a mistake, I'll tell you, because I'm very upfront and honest about this, because you guys need to know the truth. These are on their website now, I think for $7.99. I paid $9.59, but I also paid shipping of $5.99. So the total for these came to $15.58. Now, if I was smart, I was in a rush in the morning because I saw the purple tuners at such a cheap price and I wanted to get them before they were sold out. And I was in a rush and I thought, oh, well, I know I want these on the Workhorse guitar. Let's get them at the same time. I fell just short of my cutoff for free shipping. So I was a couple bucks under that. So I didn't get my free shipping. So that was my first mistake. My second mistake was I didn't even think to put in our code chaos to get our 10%. So we missed out on that too. So these cost me way more than they should have. So we're going to take the hit on that. We would have squeezed out an extra couple bucks in savings if I wasn't so stupid that day. But it is what it is. So we got the string guides and we got the chrome or the gold tuners from Geiger. The only other thing we got, because we were so low on our money, we had so much extra, I wanted to get a roller bridge or roller saddle. So I picked up a gold roller saddle. It's gold and black. It's got like the black inserts, so it has a little bit more black into it, which is kind of cool. It's really sharp looking. Should be a drop right in. It comes with the posts and the mounts and everything. I don't know that we'll need to use them, but maybe we'll put them in. We'll see when they get here. So we got the roller saddle, the tuners, the string guides, pickups. The roller saddle was $27.44. No shipping, no tax. That's what I love about Geiger. As long as you hit that when you make your order, I want to say it's $55, which is nice because most places are $100 for free shipping. So as long as it says it right at the top of their website, as long as you hit that amount for free shipping, and it's very easy to do that because there's a lot of really cool stuff on there. So we hit the free shipping, so we got that. So all the parts, and the guitar, which I think I told you in the past, but we'll run over it again. The guitar itself, we said $200 was the cutoff. We were going to spend $200 or less on the guitar. And we did, well, I thought we did, because the guitar was $182. And then I didn't realize when I got it, shipping was $20. So that kind of pushed us in the direction I didn't want to go. So $20 shipping, and then tax was $12.12. So we ended up at $214.12 on the guitar. So we got the entire guitar for $212.14. So we were $214.12. So we were $14.12 over our budget there, but we more than made up for it on parts. All in all, our budget we said was going to be $400 total under, and we're at $339.10. $339.10. And I'm not spending any more money on this. And I know the first thing everybody's going to say is, oh, what, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Why didn't you replace the nut? You got to replace the nut on those. You have to do the nut. You got to put a bone nut on them. You got to get a different nut on them. Those nuts suck. It's plastic nut. You got a different. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Straightforward and simple, because we want a good workhorse guitar that'll work for you, that'll work for the kid that's buying it so he can take lessons, that'll work for somebody who doesn't know how to do a lot of guitar repair. Now, I know the pickups are something, if you don't know how to do the stuff, you're going to have to take it somewhere, and you can have the nut done at the same time. And yes, you can. I wanted to be able to show you the stuff here. You get into a lot more, you're dealing with a lot more stuff when you're doing the nut, because if you've done a nut on the guitar, and I know I'm going to tell you this and you're going to be like, no, that's bullshit. If you've ever put a nut on the guitar, buy a nut. I have an Epiphone Les Paul it's on my bench, and I buy a nut for an Epiphone Les Paul. I'm just going to pop the other one off and put this one on, and we're good to go. Very rarely does that happen. There's always tweaks to be done, right? All guitars are different. I tell you this all the time. All guitars are different. The nuts may be pretty much all the same. It doesn't mean they're going to work on every guitar. So you always have to make some tweaks, and you should make some tweaks because you want it to fit perfectly. I didn't want to have to go through that whole process for somebody who isn't going to be comfortable doing that, when this nut is fine. The measurements we took at the first fret are absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with this nut other than the D string slot is cut a little tight. But when we restring this, part of the plan is to go string by string by string and measure the nut slots and run a nut file through each slot to make sure that string has enough room to breathe in there the way it should. Also, when you're telling somebody to mess with a nut, to recut a nut or to fit a nut or whatever, it's real easy to say, and it's real easy to say, just do this. But for somebody who's never done it, it's very easy and doesn't take a whole lot of time to ruin a brand new nut. So we're not going to mess with it because what's on here is fine. We're building a workhorse guitar. We're building something that will stay in tune, that will work for you on stage and always work for you and be dependable. You can absolutely do that with a plastic nut. There's no reason you can't. I have plenty of guitars here that work incredibly well with a plastic nut. So we're going to keep this nut. We're just going to make sure that the strings fit the way they should. So that's the plan. That's what we're doing. The only other things we may do is, I don't know, maybe we'll put different knobs on it or something stupid. It'll be a cosmetic thing, if anything at all. I personally kind of like the way it looks. But that's the plan. We're $339.10 into what we said would be a $400 project max to get a guitar that's going to be incredible. So that's where we're at. Next, I don't know, I guess maybe we'll wait till the parts get here and we'll start taking her apart. And we'll go from there. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.